Myself, Dr. Pradeep Shinde, Reader and Head of the Department of Shalyatantra, Shri B M Kankanawadi Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya, Shapur, Belgaum. Today we will be discussing on Mootra, that is Hydrocele. So the contents of today's topic will be concept of Mootra, that is pathophysiology of Mootra, etiology, types and management according to Ayurveda. Then definition of Hydrocele, types of Hydrocele, composition of the Hydrocele, clinical features, local examination, treatment modalities, complications will be discussed in today's class. So we'll see what is Vriddhi means. So Acharya tells in Shushruta Nidana Sthana 12th chapter that Adhaprakrito Anitomoha Doshaha Fulakosha Vahini Abhiprapadya Damanihi Fulakosham Vriddhim Janeti. It means, see, the Prabhukita doshas will take or enter into the channels of scrotum and the testes and produces a swelling that is called as Vriddhi. So what it implies means all types of the swellings pertaining to scrotum can be included in Mootra Vriddhi. So it may be because of malignancy, it may be because of traumatic, it may be biocele, it may be any swelling pertaining to the scrotum can be included under Mootra Vriddhi. Then types. Acharya tells there are 7 types of Mootra Vriddhis are there. One is Vataja, Pittaja, Shleshmaja, Shonitaja, Medaja, Mootraja and Antraja. Among last two, that is Mootraja and Antraja, purely because of the predominance of Vata dosha. Then we will see the etiology of Mootra Vriddhi. Acharya tells Mootra Sandhana Shilasya Mootra Vriddhir Bhavati. It means the person who indulges or does the Vega Vidharana of Mootra Vidharana for prolonged days, then it leads to Mootra Vriddhi. Now this can be very well correlated with modern science. Why? Because say if a patient indulges in Mootra Vidharana, that leads to stasis of the urine in the bladder, urinary bladder. That leads to stasis, leads to infection. Infection leads to the spread of the infection to the nearby structures, like it may spread to testis or epididymitis, and this type of infection is called as retrograde type of infection that leads to inflammation of the testis or epididymis, that leads to formation of Hydrocele. That can be very well correlated with the existing the contemporary science. Now we will see the lakshanas of Mootra Vriddhi. Acharya tells there are 3 lakshanas like Gachito Amapurnam Dhritireva Kshipati. It means swelling is like filled with a water drum and it swings when you are walking. It means there is something swelling in the scrotum which is filled with the water and feels like there is a fluctuation is present inside. And second one is Mootra Kuchara Vedana Prashanayo, means there will be pain during micturition, even there will be pain at the scrotum. And third feature what he explains is Svetur Koshaya Apadayati. It means there will be swelling at the scrotum and testis. So when we see these all features, it can be very well correlated with Hydrocele with the modern science. Why? Because in Hydrocele, there will be collection of the fluid, and that is well explored with the first. And the second thing is that there will be, because of infection, that is urethritis, or the inflammation in the testis or epididymis leads to pain during micturition. And third one is there will be swelling at the scrotum. So with all these 3 features, it can be very well correlated with Hydrocele in modern science. Now if you see the Chikitsa in Chikitsa Sthana 19th chapter, Acharya tells that after Svedana, Snena Svedana, that the part should be, the scrotum should be wrapped in the cloth. Then with the Ruhi Mukha Shastra, you should puncture the Hydrocele and drain the fluid, keeping the cannula in situ, so that all the fluids will drain out. Then followed with it should be done with Sakika Karabandha should be applied. And this type of procedure, it is still till today is in practice, and this type of procedure in modern science is called as tapping. This is very commonly practiced in Hydrocele. Now we'll see the modern aspect of Vriddhi, or it can be very well correlated with hydrocele. I already explained you. So, what is hydrocele? It is an abnormal collection of fluid, serous fluid in the tunica vaginalis or some part of process vaginalis is called as hydrocele. So, we will see what are the etiologies. So, there may be 4 etiologies which we can explain why hydrocele occurs. That is, there is a defect in the absorption of the fluid, or there will be excessive secretion of the fluid because of low grade infections at the site, maybe because of inflammation in the testis, that's called architis, or it may be because of epididymitis, or it may be because of both epididy or architis. There will be continuous secretion that leads to collection and that leads to formation of the hydrocele. Or there may be interference with the drainage of the fluid. Usually there will be secretion of some amount of fluid, and it will be drained. But if there is any obstruction in the flow of, it may be in a venous or lymphatic drainage, then the secreted fluid will start collecting, and that leads to enlargement, and that is called as, then you can say it as a hydrocele or a Mootra. Or very important is sometimes congenitally there may be a connection between peritoneum with the tunica vaginalis, and that leads to, so there will be seepage of the peritoneal fluid into the scrotum, that leads to enlargement of the scrotum, and that is also one of the cause for hydrocele. And such type of hydroceles are called as congenital hydrocele. We will be discussing in further slides. So before going to the topic proper, like hydrocele, what are types of hydrocele, let me discuss regarding descendant testis. It is very, very important. So usually the testes are formed in the peritoneum in the intrauterine life, and as age progresses they will descend into the scrotum. Say in a slide I have shown you, see in the second month they are present in the lumbar region, and the third month they will be in the iliac fossa, and at the 7th month they may be in the inguinal canal, and at 7th to 8th month they will be in the superficial lining, and at the 9th month they will descend into the scrotum. While descending, some part of the peritoneum will be pulled along with the testis, and the tube which forms the extension that peritoneum is called as processus vaginalis. And this processus vaginalis, once the testis descends, it will be get obliterated. So the connection between the peritoneum and the tunica vaginalis will be cut off. This is a normal anatomy. If this becomes a pattern, then the n number of hydroceles can be possible. Now, if you see the modern science, the hydroceles are of 2 types. One is, they are called primary hydrocele and secondary hydrocele. Primary hydrocele means if you won't get any cause for the particular cause for formation of the hydrocele, that is called as primary hydrocele. While a secondary hydrocele is, there is some cause, definitive cause for there, so that there is a formation of hydrocele. So we'll see what are the types of primary hydrocele. So in primary hydrocele there are a number of types are there. Among them, very commonly we see 5 types, that is vaginal hydrocele, very commonest, ancestral hydrocele of the cord, infantile hydrocele, congenital hydrocele, then funicular hydrocele. And rare varieties of hydrocele are hydrocele of Kankanawadi. It is very commonly, it is hydrocele which is seen in only females. And second one is hydrocele of hernia sac and hydrocele and bisac, means there will be multiple sacs are present inside the scrotum. That is called as hydrocele and bisac. Now you see the secondary hydrocele, I already said that usually secondary hydroceles are because of infections, and any type of, it may be bacterial, it may be viral, that leads to architis, that may be purely architis or epididymal architis, it may be acute, it may be chronic, or it may be because of syphilis, it may be because of some malignancy, or it may be because of trauma, and so on. Then we will see the composition of the hydrocele fluid. Usually the fluid which is collected in tunica vaginalis, it is amber colored fluid with a specific rate of 1.02 to 1.024, which contains maximum amount of water with organic salts and about 6% of inorganic albumin and fibrinogen will be present. Along with that, sometimes you may see in a chronic hydroceles the cholesterol and tyrosine crystals also be seen. Then we'll go with a clear picture of primary hydroceles. I already told you very commonly we see 5 types of hydroceles. Those are vaginal hydrocele, ancestral hydrocele of the cord, infantile hydrocele, congenital hydrocele, and funicular hydrocele. Now we'll try to differentiate each of them with remaining types of hydrocele. First we'll start with congenital hydrocele. Now, why it is called congenital? Because it is seen from the birth, where the process was already, I told you that whenever during the descent of the testis, the peritoneum will be extended, and that's called a process vaginalismus. And usually after descent of the testis, usually it get obliterated. But if it is not obliterated, then what will happen? The patency or the connection remains between the peritoneum to the tunica vaginalis. So what will happen? There will be seepage of the peritoneal fluid into the scrotum that leads to collection and swelling in the scrotum. And that type of hydrocele is called as congenital hydrocele. So it is the differential diagnostic features are, it is to be seen since from the birth. Then usually this hydrocele, when a patient lies down, in a supine position it disappears, in erect posture it will appear, and sometimes because of narrowing of this the patency, it is very difficult to reduce the fluid, and sometimes it may be associated with tubercular peritonitis. So hope it is clear. The congenital hydrocele means there is congenitally patency between process vaginalis, so that there will be seepage of peritoneal fluid to the tunica vaginalis, and that leads to enlargement of the scrotum. That type of hydrocele is called as congenital hydrocele. Now we will see what is funicular hydrocele. Funicular hydrocele is a type of hydrocele wherein I told you the process vaginalis usually get obliterated. Here the process vaginalis get obliterated just above the testis. So what will happen? So there will be seepage of the peritoneal fluid till the obliteration of the tunica vaginalis. So there will be a funicular type of swelling usually seen in the inguinal region, and that type of hydrocele is called as funicular hydrocele. And the diagnostic features of this funicular hydrocele are swelling in the usually swelling will be seen in the inguinal region, and testis can be felt separately from the above said swelling, and the rest of features are as that of congenital hydrocele. Means when a patient lies down on a supine position, the swelling reduces. When a patient gets up, you can see the swelling at the inguinal region. And this type of hydrocele is called as funicular hydrocele. Next we will see infantile hydrocele. So infantile hydrocele is exactly opposite of funicular hydrocele, wherein the process vaginalis sets off at a deep inguinal ring or below that level. So what will happen? There will be collection, or there will be extension of the hydrocele from scrotum towards the inguinal region. So the differential diagnosis of infantile hydrocele are, it may be seen in both infant and adults. The swelling is inguinal-scrotal and it is non-reducible. Impulse on cuffing will be negative. It is usually cystic swelling. Fluctuating test will be positive. Translumination will be positive. Very important thing is, if a patient lies on a supine position, this hydrocele will not reduce. It reduces a bit, but complete reduction will not be seen. So with this we can infer that it is an infantile hydrocele. Next we will move on to encysted hydrocele of the cord, which is rare but important, which usually seen in clinical practice. So here, in case of encysted hydrocele of the cord, I already told you that there is a process vaginalis, or there is a patency, which is a tunnel-like continuation of the peritoneum. So here, the process vaginalis sets at two or closes at two levels, so that there is a patency in between. So this patency may be present along the whole length of the cord. It may be in the scrotal level, it may be in inguinal scrotal level, or it may be higher above. So the patent area, there will be secretion, and because of that leads to a small cystic swelling along the cord, and such type of hydroceles are called as encysted hydrocele of the cord. And the diagnostic features of encysted hydrocele of the cord are, usually it's a oval or cystic swelling along the spinatic cord, usually get adhered with the spinatic cord. Then it may be present at different levels. It may be at scrotal, it may be inguinal, it may be inguinal-scrotal, and the fluctuating test will be positive, translumination will be positive, and is non-reducible. Impulse on cuffing will be absent, and very important test to diagnose the encysted hydrocele of the cord is traction test. Here the surgeon holds with one hand the swelling, and another hand he holds the testis and try to pull the testis down. So if the swelling moves along with the movement of the testis, then we can say the swelling is arrived to the sporadic cord, so that we can say this is the encysted hydrocele of the cord. Hope you understood this. And now we'll move on to next one, that is vaginal hydrocele. This is most commonly seen, very commonly seen in day-to-day practice, in surgical practice, wherein there will be collection of serous fluid in the tunica vaginalis. And usually, I already discussed what is the etiology, why there will be collection of the fluid in the tunica vaginalis. And usually, what I feel, the maximum causes are because of low-grade infections leading to vaginal hydroceles. Now we'll see the clinical features of hydrocele in total. So usually the hydroceles are very common in case of middle-aged group, and usually congenital hydroceles are very common in case of infants. And the symptoms are swelling in the scrotum. There may be a slight discomfort. Usually pain will not be there, but there will be slight discomfort in the scrotal region during walking and other things. And local examination, usually need to see whether it is unilateral or it may be bilateral. Okay, and the position of the penis. In case of moderate to severe hydroceles, usually penis will be buried or the penis may be shifted to opposite side. Then you need to see whether usually in case of, very important thing is in case of primary hydroceles, there may be a notch will be seen at the dependent part, which is absent in case of secondary hydrocele. Maybe with this you can differentiate whether it is a primary hydrocele or it may be a secondary hydrocele. And this notch is because of the attachment of gubernaculum. In case of primary hydrocele, as it is tense, so you can see a notch can be seen, whereas in secondary hydrocele the collection of the fluid will be minimum, so you cannot see the notch at the root of the scrotum, with which you can easily differentiate whether it is a primary hydrocele or secondary hydrocele. Then usually the very important the clinical examination is in case of hydrocele to diagnosis to get above the swelling. Now what is the get above the swelling? This test is done to differentiate whether it is a purely scrotal swelling or it is a inguinal scrotal swelling. Now here what the surgeon does with the opposite hand, means if a patient is having right-sided hydrocele, he will use left-sided hand. So he puts the thumb front at the root of the scrotum and all other fingers at the back of the affected side, and try to hold the swelling below above the, try to hold the swelling above. So means if the swelling lies, whole swelling lies beneath the hand, then it's called as the get above swelling is positive. But this test may be negative when if there is some content is coming from the abdominal side, from the inguinal side, and it is going into the scrotum, you cannot go and hold the swelling completely and the swelling lies beneath your hand. So the get above the swelling will be negative. So this test is very helpful to differentiate between whether it is inguinal scrotal swelling or it is a purely scrotal swelling. So next test which is very important in case of hydroceles are translamination test, where in a dark room the light rays are passed from the scrotum and you can see illumination on the opposite side. If it is usually present in case of all types of hydrocele. If it is a chylocele or hematocele, if it is a tumor of testis, the rays will not be passed. So we say translamination test is positive in case of hydroceles. And next one is fluctuation test. As you know, there is a collection of the serous fluid. So obviously in all types of cystic swellings, you should go for fluctuation. And even the same thing is stored in Charashushata, wherein there will be the fluid is filled in a drum such a way that there will be a movement of the fluid that can be very well correlated with fluctuation test in modern science. Then usually percussion is dull as it is collected. The fluid will be collected in the tunica vaginalis, so you will have a dull sound. And reducibility, usually in case of other swellings, say it is a hernia and other things, it will be reducible, but here it will be absent, except in case of congenital hydrocele. Now we will see different diagnoses for hydrocele. So there are a number of different diagnoses, among them inguinal hernia, hematocele, pyocele, chiocele, filariasis of the scrotum, cysts of the epididymitis, or ancestral hydrocele of the cord, or tumors in testis are the differential diagnosis of the hydrocele. Now we'll see what are the complications of a disease hydrocele. So there may be chance of hydrocele, patient is on hydrocele, he may get an infection to that part, or there may be atrophy of testis, or there may be rupture of the hydrocele, there may be hematocele, there may be hydrocele of the hernial sac, or there may be calcification of the hydrocele. These are the usual complications which are seen in case of hydrocele. Then we will see what is the surgical management of the hydrocele. Usually there are 4 procedures are explained in modern science. Those are Javelin method of eversion, Lord's excision of the sac, and subtotal excision and tapping. Now, usually Lord's procedure is executed, or it will be done in case of mild to moderate hydroceles, wherein the tunica vaginalis is everted back and it is sutured behind the testis, so that the secreting area will be exposed outside, so that there is no chance of collection. That is called Javelin procedure. And Lord's procedure of the excision sac is done in case of moderate to bigger hydroceles, wherein the rudimentary excess sac of the tunica vaginalis will be excised, hemostasis is achieved, and it is placed. Even it can be practiced in case of hematocele or infected hydroceles. Then comes third one is subtotal excision. When there is a massive hydrocele is that, in such cases the rudimentary skin also excised along with the tunica vaginalis, and that type of operation is called as subtotal excision, where, I'll repeat, in subtotal excision it is usually done in case of very bigger hydroceles, wherein along with the tunica vaginalis the excess of the skin also will be excised. Then comes a tapping. Usually tapping is indicated in older patients and patients who are unfit for surgery. And if you see, this is explained by Acharya Sushruta, and it is in practice only in cases of patients who are unfit for surgery. Now I am showing you a picture wherein a patient, elderly man, more than 85-year-old and unfit for surgery. Here we are tapping the fluid at the dependent part. You can see there is a massive swelling till the inguinal region, and with the brenda we are tapping. Here you can compare the before and after the treatment. After tapping, there is absolutely the swelling is reduced. Then comes the surgical procedure. Here I will show you one case which is operated at our hospital, and these are the pre-operative procedure. You need to take pre-anesthetic evaluation. You should do it after patient is fit with all investigations. Then you can post the patient. It may be posted under spinal anesthesia or local anesthesia. Usually, a small hydroceles can be posted under local anesthesia. As to local anesthesia, you can proceed, or if it is moderate to major hydroceles, it can be posted under spinal anesthesia. Then you need to take OOT consent. You need to keep nil orally. Then part operation should be done. Jalakin, TT, test should be given. Then with then antibiotic should be given. Now we will see the jobless procedure of the eversion of sac. With after giving spinal anesthesia, after draping and painting and draping, usually the assistant is asked to hold the testis so that it will become stout, and the incision will be taken on the about 1 to 2 centimeters away from the median raphe of the affected side, and the incision is deepened till tunica vaginalis. Now you need to know there are different layers of the scrotum, like skin, dartus muscle, then external sporadic fascia, then cremastic muscle, then internal sporadic fascia. You need to incise, then you will get a tunica vaginalis, which looks like amber, dusky, bluish colored what a layer can be seen. Till that you need to dissect the layers of the scrotum. In this picture you can very well see that the skin is inside parallel to the median raphe and making the hydrocele stout. Then all the layers of the scrotum, once you see that bluish color the tunica vaginalis, then all the layers of the scrotum are separated with a blunt dissection. Then once whole the tunica vaginalis is separated from the rest of the wall of the scrotum, the small nick will be given at the dependent part so that all the fluid can be evacuated. Then the same the incision is extended so that you can avert the sac, and suture it on the posterior side. We can see in the third slide. Then the tester should be placed in a normal position. Then it should be sutured. And here, usually we prefer the interpreter sutures for closing the scrotum. Usually, in case of mild to moderate hydroceles, we do. It is usually the keeping the drain is must. Why? Because a small amount of bleeding or something can be taken away, or else it may lead to again one more complication, that is hematocele can be seen. So to prevent that, usually keeping the drain is must. Then post-operatively, you can, as a patient is posterior under spinal anesthesia, you can keep neat orally and use few fluids of IV fluids and antibiotics and analgesics and maintain the temperature and BP. So with this, we'll conclude the hydrocele and what is hydrocele. Before that conclusion, let me tell you something regarding, when you see the etiology of Vriddhi, and it can be very well, even etiology, clinical features and pathology, if you see from Ayurveda side, it can be very well correlated with hydrocele in modern science. And tapping is the treatment which is explained in ancient and it is still in practice. Because of advancement in the surgery, you can proceed with other procedures like javelins or other surgical procedures can be practiced. And there were no any surgeries are done. Only tapping was the only modality which was practiced in olden days. It means, or it denotes, or it gives the implication that after tapping, all the hydroceles are treated with seminosis in olden days. With this, I conclude this topic.